We're live. Welcome to another podcast. I am Mike.
I'm Jeff Quake.
Yeah. So I guess we can kind of just get into the draft a little.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You had an article come out, I guess, yesterday. Must have been.
Yeah, because I published it. It was a funny story about this.
Or just to clarify, since people probably won't know.
Yeah.
But you did a 3-part series in for Sports Talk Philly.
Yep.
Talking about the Flyers off season. And this latest one, part 3, you're talking about the draft. So
Yeah, and a little bit about that, and it was kind of funny because I've been looking for ideas for what part 3 could be, because part 1 was all about contracts.
And you were texting me like, "What's your part 3 be?"
Part 2 was,
because I feel like at first I think you wanted it to be like free agency, but in part 2 you talked about that a little bit. So
I did.
Like, well,
and
now
that
what
was
do I do
kind
for
of
part
my
3?
own fault, because so part 1 was focusing on the Flyers contracts, like you know, who the Flyers could release, they could re-sign. And then our editor, Kevin Durso, told me to say, hey, I'm going to hold on publishing this just yet, because let's wait till media day. And sure enough, luckily we did, because Hexall gave out some interesting stuff, including mentioning basically the only UFA that he's possibly considering re-signing is Valtteri Filppula. So that was pretty interesting, I thought. But part 2, that was possible line combinations for next season, and I kind of had to. Then I thought to myself, well, I kind of have to include free agency, because if they have any free agent signings, that'll go right here. So then I was like, oh wait, I don't know what to do for part 3 now. So I've been wondering over the past couple of weeks what to do, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, I should really get an article there, just
because if the draft is only like 2 weeks away.
It really is, because today's the
shortly after that.
Today's the 4th, and
it's the 4th, and we're less than a month away.
No, sorry. It's on the 22nd, I believe.
Yeah.
18 days until the NHL draft in
And
Dallas.
less than a month until free agency.
Yeah,
so.
So I kind of get it out.
Because you just realize it now. Oh, yeah, we're going to Game 3 of the Stanley Cup,
Yeah.
which means the season's almost over, which means the draft's coming up.
And in Game 2 of the Calder Cup Finals is coming up real soon, too.
Unfortunately, Phantoms got swept.
They did, but we can get into that a little bit later. But
because that's kind of what I wrote about recently, was just kind of the youth. I think we talked about it a little bit last time.
I think so, but we'll talk about it more again.
But back to the draft.
Yeah. But yeah, so part 3, I was looking at what all I could write about for the NHL draft coming up in Dallas, and then I thought to myself, okay, maybe I should do something about draft day in general. It doesn't necessarily have to be just the first day, but it most likely will be. But then again, you know, the entire draft is the entire draft. And I mentioned, you know, everything from who the Flyers would pick 14th and 19th overall to the possible trades and moving up, or a possible player getting traded. I texted a good friend of mine, Russ Cohen, who some of us know here through Sportsology.com, and he because he goes to the NHL draft and NHL draft combine every single year, so I was able to get a little inside info, which is great. I asked him, you know, would the Flyers trade anyone at the draft? If so, who will be? He mentioned, you know, he asked, a player, and he says, I don't think so. Radko Gudas is a possibility. I think it's more likely they try to move up in the draft. Let's talk about that for a little bit. So, first things first, all throughout the draft, whether it's the first day or throughout day 2, I mean, the bigger trades will happen during the first day, but the NHL Network does still televise the second,
like the first day is like on NBC Sports, and then
and after that it goes to NHL Network.
That's kind of like the NFL draft, where it's like the first like round or so. It's like on ESPN, and then they move to ESPN 2.
Exactly. So what are the possibilities of the Flyers trading a player, and if so, who will it be? I have 2 players out there that I would consider the Flyers trading. Radko Gudas, like Russ mentioned, is a possibility. My other one, it does come at a bit of a shock. We talked about this before, though. Wayne Simmons.
Yeah,
because
he's always come up. Just because
his
contract
is a big issue, and if
it's more the contract that he would get coming in, or at least what he would want to get, and
for
versus
the Flyers, they have a good amount of young players needing contract extensions.
And they're going to be needed before you know it, so you want to make sure you have enough cap space for it.
Yeah, so who do you think would be a possibility to get traded at the NHL draft?
Obviously Simmons, Gudis, maybe. Who else would be good? Maybe like a Raffle or someone like that.
Ooh, that's an interesting name, like a Raffle.
Mm-hmm. I'm just thinking if you like kind of a middle of the pack kind of guy.
Yeah, like he's a top 9 forward, that's for sure. Because
he's been utilized in
literally every situation.
Yeah, like even this past season, like when they first split up Konechny and from the first line, they put Raffle there, and even the fourth line they weren't producing that much, but at the beginning of the season they were fast and doing everything, and he wasn't producing, but they felt like he's a player that they can put kind of anywhere. Right. And I feel like a team could probably see that as a plus.
No, absolutely. And
I like Raffle, and every year I keep saying he's gonna do good, but somehow, for some reason, he always either gets injured or something happens.
Something happens with him, yeah.
Because all the time, I always hope he does well. Because
he's a good player, and he's a very well-liked player for the whole team.
On the first line for a while.
Say again?
A couple of years ago, he was on the first line with Giroux.
Him, Giroux, and I believe it was Voracek. They all
might have been Simmons.
Or even Simmons. They all clicked together. Either way, Voracek and Raffle have a pretty strong chemistry going. Yeah. And, there's times where last year, this now past season for the Flyers, there was either someone hurt or, when Dave Haxtell moved Konechny down, I think they threw Raffle up there on the top line for a little bit because, why not?
He's someone who's
familiar and can keep up with Giroux.
He's also, because Haxtell, Konechny's not defensive at all, so he feels near the end of the game he has to put Konechny down.
Yeah.
Raffle, who's a little better defensively and more
still learning.
Well-rounded.
All right, so here's the thing, though. I'll go into... for the contracts that are ending in 2019 to 2020, so during the next offseason, these are the players' contracts that will expire. Yuri Laterra, he'll definitely be gone. That is unless the Flyers can find a trade partner sooner, which is very unlikely. Wayne Simmons.
I don't know. There's some GMs that might.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, there is always a possibility.
I'm never surprised. We traded Ronaldo for a third-round pick. Okay?
That's fair. And
you don't think Edmonton's... wants Hall back after that trade.
Well, that's their own fault.
I know. I'm just saying. Imagine if they Hall and McDavid this season. They were both really good. Imagine if they were on the same team. They would be in the playoffs now, probably.
They would be at least in the second, third round. Imagine McDavid and Hall on the line. Oh my gosh!
Yes, but they traded Hall.
Yes, unfortunately. Good job, guys. So Simmons...
So nothing would really surprise me trade-wise.
Yeah, no, that's fair, because, you never
know.
Literally, look at Braden Shen. I wasn't expecting him to get traded last year.
Even if you want to go back to Holmgren, when he traded away Richards and Carter. I never would have expected that to happen, and it did.
No, I know, because I was...
First,
2 years out of the Stanley Cup final run, a year after going to the after a very long and tough matchup against.
We got rid of a captain.
Yeah, and look at
even though that series before, everyone was complaining about Richards and everything not being showing up and not really being the captain.
Apparently, there's a rumor, and we'll go back to the contracts for a second after this. But there's a rumor that Chris Pronger. Didn't play during that second round against Boston in 2011. According to reports, he was injured.
Buffalo?
No. Buffalo's first round, Boston was second round because Flyers got swept.
Yeah, and then Boston went on the win.
Yeah. But there's rumors that Chris Pronger didn't play in that second round against Boston because he was hurt. Right. But I think what actually happened, those were the actual reports. What some of the rumors were is that he didn't want to play because he didn't want to play for a captain like Richards.
I could believe that.
I can, oddly enough, I can believe that.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Richards and Pronger always clashed well together.
And I feel like this probably Richards with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because even after he left Philadelphia, he didn't really do anything.
During his first year with LA, he helped. He did have a good part.
He just kind of kept going down.
Down, yeah.
So the trade actually benefited the Flyers.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. That one. And then for the Carter
Carter's
deal,
still doing good.
Oh, yeah. But technically the Flyers won the Carter trade because they sent him to Columbus. They didn't send him to L.A. They sent him to Columbus.
They sent him for Columbus for Voracek.
That was exactly.
Voracek and Couturier, essentially.
And I think the other pick turned out to be Nick Cousins, but he's in Arizona. So, but hey.
And then the other one was Shen and Simmons, and Shen's in St. Louis now.
Yeah, so you never do know. But
and Shen was another person that I kind of find surprising that he was traded because we just gave him the contract like a season before.
Yeah, right.
And then we traded him.
Yeah, no, I was definitely surprised by that. But going back to contract, speaking of Simmons, so his contract is currently $3.975, 3.9 mil, I should say. And his contract will be up next season. And then you also have... it is Michael Raffle, who we talked about earlier, and Jordan Wheel, who are UFAs. Raffle 2.3 cap.
Wheel, I could see them trading. Wheel's another one I can see.
Wheel, he's an interesting case because he was acquired in the Vinny Lecavalier Luke Shen trade to LA, and what they really went after, was it a second round pick or a first round pick? I can't remember.
I forgot.
But because they somehow managed to trade both of those players who had pretty bad contracts with the Flyers. They also acquired a small piece in Jordan Wheel, who turned out to be, just like Braden Shen, a bigger piece than everyone could ever imagine.
Yeah. I mean, this past season, he kind of fell off a little. Or maybe it's because people or maybe because people were expecting him to do better or higher expectations of him. I think they might have expected him
to do better, but also he wasn't really given too many great chances.
And I mean, when your one line mate's been hurt since preseason and he doesn't want to get surgery or anything.
The other one that's coming up is Travis Konechny.
And he's gonna want a contract.
Oh, he'll get a contract. I think. What do you think would be a legitimate contract for TK? 3-4 years?
5 maybe.
5?
Yeah.
I would love to see 5, because he never really got the sophomore slump. If anything, he got better.
He got better.
Sophomore year.
No, because his freshman year, his rookie year, he kept getting benched. He kept making rookie mistakes, and Hackstall kept benching him.
Yeah, but
he even said at the end of the season that he wanted to play him more. Right. And he did, essentially, but he still has a learning curve.
Oh, yeah, but
he still has that tendency to take a bad penalty. But he's also someone who you kind of want on your team because he's someone who can get in their head.
Oh, no, big time. Like, literally, if you watch any of the games he played in this year.
This is what I can see him kind of turning into, player-wise.
Oh, gosh.
A better version of Oshie.
Ooh, okay, I can see that. Because
Oshie gets under the skin of people. He plays a similar game, but I can see him being a better Oshie.
Here's the funny thing is that people don't really, because it's funny you mentioned that, and I'm glad you did, because people don't really think of Oshie being a player that he can get under your skin, but he does.
He does.
He does it very discreetly.
He does.
But
him and TK went at it.
Oh, no, I know.
Because they both got under each other's skin. Yeah. And he even fought Simmons. He fought Simmons.
That's right. And then here's where it gets really interesting. So, Robert Haig, he's going to get a contract because his contract's up at the end of this year.
I could say
next year, how many?
I could say 3, 4.
3, 4, yeah. Next year, Provorov's contract is up. He's going to get a big 6-year contract. But then you also have...
Because didn't Ghost just get a contract?
I'm looking at catfriendly.com, and yes, he did. He signed through 2023, 2024.
He's going to get a similar contract than Ghost.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. Let me see if it says it here. But his contract length, 6 years. And this is Gus's right. I think, like 6 years, 27 mil.
Okay.
So,
not bad.
I think for
because Provorov is...
I think for Provorov, he would get a very similar contract, if not even more money thrown towards him. Because look how valuable Ivan Provorov is to the Philadelphia
He's our most
Flyers.
important player. Besides Couturier, he's their most important player. Yeah. Giroux, yes, offensively and doing everything. Couturier defensively and Provorov defensively.
Yeah. He was just
defensive. He was defenseman. Because if you lose Provorov, who do you put up there? I'm assuming you might want to put Ghost still up there, but I guess that would be Ghost and McDonald.
Yeah.
Seeing how it's been.
Yeah.
In the past.
So that's a tough call. Here's where it gets very interesting, though. So both Brian Elliott and Michael Neuvirth's contract are up after next season.
Neuvirth's not coming back.
Yeah. Elliott's going to get re-signed.
He could be another person that could possibly want to trade.
I think that's a very valid point.
Or maybe trade for a starter.
Yeah. That would be a good...
Because if you really think about it, is Elliott really someone that could kind of win?
No. Here's the thing, though. I know there's no offense to Brian Elliott whatsoever. It's just...
Not at all.
Right now, like he did very well in his first season. I think he exceeded expectations.
He did, but he played... That's how he played all season.
Yes.
He came up with timely saves, but his numbers weren't stellar.
Right. And then
Hacksaw did his usual, where he run him to the ground, then he got hurt, then he came back literally near the end of the season. So it's like,
and he still didn't come back 100%.
No, he got the shutout in the last game of the season. But then it's like, I don't know, because Neuvirth was still hurt going to the playoffs. Like, do we want to start Elliott or Mrazek at that point? And it's like,
I mean,
I don't know, because Mrazek was struggling for so long.
I know.
For that time, but
honestly
Elliott just came back
to,
and he. It didn't matter anyways. They put up a touchdown against us in game 1.
They did.
And then Elliott rebounded a little in game 2. So
after that, the series went downhill.
Yeah.
But here's where, because you brought up an interesting point. Should the Flyers go after an actual starting goaltender? It wouldn't hurt because
right now, if you think about it, because Mitch and I talked about this a little, and he actually had a good point. Right now, this is their best. Not if you want to go with the players they have now, with like Giroux and the Voracek at their prime, and before they go bad, and Hart's going to take some time to develop. If you want to try to win now, maybe trade for a starter.
Yeah, it honestly wouldn't
Elliott
hurt.
might not be the person that can help you win.
I think he would be a good backup.
Yeah. He hates being a backup, but he could be a good backup.
I mean, hey, think about it this way. He's a good enough goalie to, still play, of course. And
you don't know how hard it's going to be once he's actually here. He's playing in juniors. He's playing great in juniors, but it's juniors. Next season's going to be a big
league because this is the first year he's going to be in the American Hockey League.
And that's another thing I talked about in my last article was goaltending.
Yeah.
Because next season going in, not even just for the Flyers, but Phantoms, you have Stolars, Lyon, and
a healthy Stolars, and Hart. Also, but I don't know how many years away he is, but Felix Sandstrom.
He's going to go back. He's going back to Sweden next season. He already signed back to them.
I mean, I think that's a good move because he's literally...
He had an injured year, so he's going back because he wants to...
Okay. I mean, hey,
but
all credit to him.
I know just because he signed his entry level, because he kind of had to, but he signed it near the end of this past season. He's going to come to, not this upcoming training camp, but next training camp. He's going to be here.
For Sandstrom?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm fine with that because I think Felix Sandstrom, he's going to be a phenomenal goalie.
Lions played well at times, but I don't think Lyon and Stolars are future. So
they're here.
They're
for
great
right now.
If someone else would want them for a trade option, maybe they could be great AHL goalies. Maybe if they get an opportunity.
Definitely great AHL goalies. NHL they'll have their shot. Because here's my
Stolars had it the year before Lyon this past season.
But the thing is with Stolars, I don't think the Flyers gave him a good enough look. Because during the 10-game winning streak, Mason played 7 or 8 of those games, while Stolars played 2 or 3. And that was
the same with Elliott and Lyon.
Exactly. So I think what happens is the Flyers, they keep Brian Elliott and they get rid of Michael Neuvirth, either just letting him go, or I think they just try their best. I think by the NHL trade deadline of next season, that is when they'll get rid of him. Yeah. It's possible they'll get rid of him. Well, then again,
this upcoming off season is going to be there's going to be some big time trades. I have a feeling.
Oh no, absolutely.
Especially just with
not even with the Flyers, but just in general for the whole league. Because I think
there's been rumors that even Subban might be traded.
Yeah, no, there's because there's I did see that. I don't know if because I did see an article come out a couple within the last month or two. This is a couple years ago where Nashville still had Subban, but they're kicking the tires on a trade option to get Matt Duchene from Colorado, and I guess that trade fell through. But maybe. I don't know how that would turn out for trading Subban. But overall, though, I think this, and I gotta look at my article again. I hope I mentioned this. I don't think I did though, and I'm thinking about it. This is honestly one of the most important all seasons the Flyers will have had.
If not, you said in the last podcast. I remember that.
In a few years, because this is the first time they have legitimate money.
Yeah.
And they're slowly but surely getting over the hump. Yes, they made the playoffs, but another first round exit. Yeah. What are you going to do?
I even said that in my article that even next season, playoffs or not, you should be happy with where the team's going to be going.
Yeah.
Because every year someone's going to come up.
Yeah.
Because this next season, Sanheim's going to be playing the whole year.
Yep. And Haig should be playing the whole year.
He should be. More unfortunately,
he's out
since our last last podcast. He
has a torn ACL. He's out till February. I think he had surgery already.
I think so. But that hurts him.
That really does. But that helps the door for Philip Myers.
Yeah.
Which I think is as much as I love Sam Morin and his game, I think Philip Myers is going to be a tremendous asset to
which
the
makes
Flyers.
You really think he was undrafted.
I know. That's the best part. Is Philip Myers
and I don't know why either. He's a good skater and he's a good size.
He's a great skater. Like literally during the playoffs, nobody took a shot on him. During the playoffs, I don't know how much of the Phantoms run you saw, but literally
not much. But
there's
I
highlights.
Couldn't really see much of it.
There's highlights though all over of Philip Myers just skating around. Like literally, he takes the puck.
Talk about him in a little bit.
Goes all around the rink. It's unreal. I don't get how he does it.
Like even in against Toronto, he had a goal and assist in the game.
Yeah,
he's still producing. He's still. I mean, and that was with Sanheim coming back from injury.
Yeah,
which I'm surprised he already came back.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, he got hurt and then he came back.
That's a very good point.
But now he's got a couple months to heal up. So he'll be fine by the season starts.
Yeah, I hope so, though.
Same with Couturier and Provorov.
Just overall... Oh, also, just because we're mentioning, players who have been injured and stuff, an important player to mention during this whole thing, this will be Nolan Patrick's first real all-season where he can train and be completely healthy. Not only that, but he has all the great trainers in Philadelphia to help him get there, and I think he's going to do phenomenal during his second season. Because,
I can see it.
I mean, sure, he had a very rough start, getting a concussion and everything, and still battling with the sports hernia injuries, but during the second half of the season, he really turned on.
Yeah, he did.
All of the
even in the playoffs, he wasn't really producing points wise, but he was noticeable.
He was still noticeable.
He was noticeable
for sure, yeah.
And obviously the Flyers are more important with the line-to-line competition or whatever.
Yeah.
But even when he went up against their third line, he was still able to shut them down.
I agree.
Their line was able to do well when it came out.
Because I wanted to look up. Let's have to get a roster.
Because it's good to know now that because Couturier this past season, we know it's because that was the limit question coming into this past season was if he was like a future number one center or not. He is.
Yeah, he is.
Any doubt people have, he does. He is.
No, he is, which is nice, and
it just took him for someone to finally put him with good line mates, and then it happened, and not just put him on defensively, which was just like always a smart thing to do because he's so good defensively. But
because Patrick, he ended up with 30 points in the regular season.
He was eventually put on the first power play unit.
Yeah, and that really helped. He had 2 points in the playoffs in 6 games.
Yeah.
Wow. He did play 73 games.
Yeah.
So it's not like he missed a whole lot. But
No, he didn't. It was the concussion that he missed.
Exactly.
Most part.
Other than that, he played 73 games of 82, so he missed only 9 games, which, wow.
But he didn't really come in until like the second half of the season.
Do you know who actually surprised me? Filppula. He had 33 points this year.
Mm-hmm.
So that was
that
good
does
to
surprise
see.
me.
TK had 47.
For someone whose
awesome.
speed looks a lot, it's not where it was before and everything. That's surprising to me.
Yeah, do you know what's also surprising? I just saw this as I was looking up stats. Well, all right, that's because he's tied for second, but Filppula was tied for second in playoff points this year.
Really?
Everyone had 3 basically.
All right.
So that's why. Couturier shot just bursted out of the air with 9 points.
He
Filppula,
brought us into game 1 and 1 leg.
Yeah.
He did it on 1 leg.
Yep. And look what he did game 6, a hat trick, 5 points. So Filppula, Giroux, Provorov, and Jake Voracek all had 3 points, tied for second. And then after that, you have 5 players tied for 6th in points, 2. So, that's fun.
That was another thing. The Flyers never really had that depth scoring this season.
Yeah.
So that's why Filppula's points look so well.
Exactly.
Simmons fell off this season, and Wheel didn't play as well, and Raffle started off the year slow and then got hurt, so his points weren't really as high. So
no, I agree. So, but yeah, overall, this will be a real good season, or all season for the Flyers, and not only for the NHL draft. I think this is going to be a very important draft for them. Because something that Russ also mentioned to me is he was saying that this is going back to the draft for a second. He said it was it's a defense-rich draft. Some possible picks for the some possible draft picks for the Flyers that they could, or prospects they could draft in their current spot. If they don't move up, he thinks they could take Keandre Miller. He's a big, strong, fast defenseman for NTDB. I mentioned Miller in my article. Also, because I mentioned, because I was asking, was like, well, I figured they'd go for forwards, because let's face it, they have a boatload of defenseman prospects. Right. He said it is defense rich draft, but they could still get a forward the second pick. There's not too many centers out there, not for top 6, so that's something to really keep in mind. Yeah. Some
but centers really right now, it's not the biggest of needs.
It really isn't. Which helps for us for the Flyers is that just because there's not many centers, well, it does help. At the same time, it doesn't.
But you can easily just kind of move them over to wing.
Exactly. Too. Well, some players yes, some players no. Yeah. Second pick that the Flyers have, 19th overall, which is their original pick. They could possibly look at Rasmus Kupari. I have heard his name in the first round. I've seen it around all over the place. I think he could turn out to be pretty good if properly developed. Yeah. Ross says he has lots of skill, which is nice to hear.
Hextall's going to do that.
Yeah.
No matter who he drafts, it's going to be.
Oh, yeah. He's going to do a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
Here's where it gets interesting. So let's say if the Flyers trade up, where's the highest they could realistically and possibly trade up to? Because they have picks 14 and 19th overall. I think the highest they could trade up is still within the top 10, but just barely sneaking into the top 10 between either picks 9 or 10, and I think that's about it.
Yeah, probably.
I asked him about Oliver Wahlstrom and Quentin Hughes. Hughes, he's more likely to fall within the first top 8 picks, even top 6.
Yeah.
Wahlstrom, he said, Russ said maybe Wahlstrom if he drops that low. And for those who are wondering why Wahlstrom's name sounds so familiar, this is years ago when Wahlstrom was a 9-year-old kid on a hockey team. his team played in some sort of tournament or something like that. They had a shootout, or it was like an all-star game or something like that. And he pulled off an unbelievable shootout move where Marty St. Louis did this in the all-star game shootout a couple years ago, where you basically take the puck, lift it up, and as you lift it up, you do a spin and toss it into the net. So he did that at just 9 years old. It was all over the news. It was awesome. But so that's him. So clearly he has great puck handling
at
skills.
9 years old.
Yeah. And what are we doing as 22-year-olds?
Sitting here talking about him.
Woo! And then here's another player I actually like a good amount. Jesperi Kotkaniemi. He's a Finn, and that's realistically who they could take at 9 or 10 if they do trade up that high. So that's someone else to look out for. But so some good stuff from Russ there, and I definitely appreciate that. I also mentioned that in my article. So yeah, no. Overall, it'll be great. I think this is going to be a strong draft for the Flyers. Possible trade within the first round, either moving up or even a player. Our options that we were talking about were Gudis, Simmons, or Neuvert. Even Raffle could be a small possibility. You never know. So I think there's that, and then I can't wait for free agency. I really can't wait to see what happens.
You never know what's going to happen, so
it'll be good.
Especially with Tavares.
NHL-wise. Where do you think Tavares will end up at?
He could possibly stay. Kovalchuk even said if Tavares stays, he's going to the Islanders.
I don't think, from everything I've heard with a lot of my contacts, there's no way he's going to be going back to the Islanders. Sure, it's possible, but
it's possible. But
I think
they got the GM that would make him stay, but
I don't think he likes it there as much anymore.
No,
I think it honestly also has to do with ownership and everything.
Probably.
So
they got the new stadium, so because the Barclays Center is terrible for hockey.
Just a bit. They have a car in their stands where you could put like 20-some seats, maybe 15.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
Who thought that was a good idea?
But kind of transition a little because the Stanley Cup is going on now. And we haven't really talked about it.
That's true.
Did you see any of the first two games?
Oh yeah, I've been watching the entire series so far.
I wasn't sure because you were at the beach. So.
Yeah, no, trust me, I've been still watching it.
Yeah.
In fact, I made the guys watch it during the beach. But the first game 1. Who's back and forth?
That's going to be the whole series.
It's great though that I love it like that. It's 2-1 Caps lead right now in the series.
I think they're going to take it.
It's you never know.
Because I still I find it surprising that Vegas is this good.
Yeah.
Because it's really just Fleury playing out of his mind.
Yeah.
And they have a good first line in James Neal.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
They don't
William
have
Karlsson
the best.
Is doing,
I know. Yeah. And they don't really have the best defense, so it's...
Yeah. I mean, you do have a point.
But they have great speed, and the first few teams that they played, they
just ran right over
them.
The only team that had trouble with was San Jose.
That motivation or whatever for them to be so well for so long. Yeah. That's kind of how it keeps going that way.
The funny thing is, this is besides San Jose series, this is the most amount of games they've lost in a playoff series before.
Yeah. You know what's funny though?
Huh?
They have so much money money for the cap that they could get Tavares and trade for Karlsson.
Could you imagine? Hey, think about that way. Then one of them could be their captain. Because all right, let's say if Vegas wins the cup, because traditionally the captain lifts the cup. Who lifts the cup for Vegas? I say Derek England because
Fleury.
I'm saying accepts the cup. I think that'd be pretty cool to see a goalie do that.
I'm just saying because he's essentially why.
Yeah,
he's playing out of his mind.
Oh no, I know, but I think Derek England because he's actually from Vegas.
Yeah.
So the hometown player lifts the cup, but I mean, all I ask for is because I hate series.
Because even if they do lose, it's nothing to take back from. They made it to the Stanley Cup in their first year.
Exactly.
Do I think they'll do it again next year?
Probably not. But you never know. But here's the thing, though. People were expecting them to have like 56 points.
Mm-hmm.
They shattered that. They literally almost doubled what they expected to get. And
it kind of helps that the Pacific isn't the strongest.
Yeah.
But still.
But hey,
it's still good.
They still did a tremendous job, and all hats off
I thought
to
the Jets were gonna
Gerard Gallant and George McPhee.
Mm-hmm. I thought the Jets were going to destroy.
Yeah.
It turned out being the other one.
Yeah, seriously. But for the Caps,
that's another good story, especially for Ovechkin.
Yeah, exactly. It's Ovechkin, and it could be their first
every
cup.
year you're like, oh, they always blow it, and then this is the year where they haven't.
Because honestly, no, when they're playing Tampa, they're up 2-0, and also same thing with Columbus, they're up 2-0. Or no, so they're down 2-0. That's my fault.
They were down 2-0 because for some reason they didn't start Hopi.
Yeah.
And then they started Hopi.
Grubauer, he did, to be fair, I think it was a good move because he was playing relatively hot towards the end of the season. But
I know, but in a playoff series, who do you want?
Hopi.
Yeah. It's like the Devils.
Yeah.
Would you really want Corey Schneider on your bench in a playoff series?
Oh.
Even if he's not playing as well as the other goalie.
Yeah. And that's exactly the same thing
they
that
both
they did
had
there.
the experience.
Yeah.
It's like if Florida made the playoffs and Luongo wasn't playing well. Luongo has the experience to...
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, so for Washington, they're up 2-0, and they lost 3 straight to Tampa Bay. I thought, that's it.
Yeah.
They're done. This is their chance. It's a great run, but next thing you know, they won Game 6.
The last 2 series went to Game 7 for them. They went to Game 7 against Pittsburgh. They beat them.
No, it was in 6.
Oh, I thought it was in 7.
No.
Yeah.
If it wasn't 7, that'd be, oh my gosh, I couldn't even imagine that.
I thought they were going to lose that series. They didn't. I thought they were going to lose the Tampa Bay series. They didn't.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know what to make of this series with Vegas. It could go either way. So there's still a lot of hockey to be played. Caps are only 2 wins away.
Usually a 6-7.
Oh, that's what I think. And the best part is I'm glad that it's this back and forth hockey, going back and forth, back and forth. And the best part is this is the first time, no matter what, whoever wins, this will be their first cup in franchise history. And this hasn't happened since, I want to say, 2007 between Anaheim and the Ottawa Senators.
Yep.
When they played, Anaheim took that in 5. And that was the last time the 2 teams would play for the Stanley Cup and play for their first cup. So I think that's really awesome. And I always love seeing new teams in the Cup Finals or even just in the playoffs in general every year. Like,
which makes you think about what happens with Seattle. Because they're going to have the same rules as
that's what I'm wondering is because I
was watching ESPN the other day, and they're the best with hockey,
of course,
and they were complaining about how Vegas wouldn't be able to they can protect everyone or whatever, but they're so young. It's like that kind of makes sense.
Well,
they would only be in for 3 years or so. So the
For the expansion draft?
Yeah, for the Seattle's expansion draft.
Well, no, that's not necessarily true because what a lot of people, clearly ESPN continues to forget, a lot of these players just, some, yes, they're young, but most of these guys, they're actual veterans, like Fleury, James Neal.
Oh, trust me, this is the only reason why they're talking about hockey is because of Vegas on ESPN.
Oh, yeah, I know. Neal, Derek England, Jason Garrison.
Let's just all be glad that it's not Crosby in the Stanley Cup again. Okay? Let's just be glad. We saw after the Penguins had the Flyers here. It's like, well, they're going to do it again, aren't they?
Yeah, because honestly...
even Boston, I'm like, they're probably going to win.
Yeah.
Nope.
Honestly, I thought whoever won the Flyers
I don't think anyone
Penguin series would get to the conference finals because
I don't know anyone expected Washington to be in the Stanley Cup.
No,
right
definitely
besides
not.
Maybe Capitals fans, but
there's probably some out there thinking when they got to the against the Pens great. Another series against these guys.
Or the Lightning or something like that.
Or the Lightning, you know, and because I really
or
thought
going down too early.
Yeah, I really thought the Lightning were going to steamroll past the Caps in 5 or 6.
I was thinking more like that fan sort of thing. We're going to win it all. We're going to do this.
No, because there's always fans like that, yeah.
Trust me, there are fans that thought the Flyers were going to win the Stanley Cup. Let's be honest here.
I know, which is really sad.
The fans that caught on the last 2 weeks of the season. And
yes. Yeah. Literally, they've been focusing on that game 82 against the Rangers where Drew gets a Hattie.
Yeah. And it was a shutout. Yeah.
Yeah. They're expecting that.
No.
I wish. That'd be nice.
That would be great. Yeah, that'd be interesting to see, though.
Yeah, no, I think overall... Oh, here's a good question for you. Actually, no.
What would be interesting, actually, is once Seattle is in and is how the divisions and everything will line up.
Well...
Because that's always been the biggest question with Seattle coming in is how...
Yeah, because where would you put them? East or west?
You'd have to put them out west, right? They're out west, so it makes sense.
Well, that's what I would think at the same time, though. But
or you had to move.
You would have to move a west team to the east, like they did with Detroit a couple years ago.
But who would you?
That's a great question because
would you do Nashville maybe because they're right there?
That's a great
But it's
question.
all like about travel and everything. So.
It really is. But here's the thing, because a couple years ago, they realigned the division when they created the Metropolitan Division and
the Atlantic Pacific and all that.
Yeah, and they moved Detroit from the Western Conference to the Eastern Conference.
And then
and same thing with
Atlanta
Columbus,
actually. And Winnipeg.
Same thing with Columbus. Columbus became a Eastern Conference team, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
And because... If you do, because there's 31 teams in the NHL right now, if you make a 32nd team with JR with Seattle, I feel like they got to make it as even as possible. So let's say if they do make Seattle Western Conference team, which they probably should, at least one team closer to the East Coast has to move because then you'll have 2 more teams in the West. Compared to
and the East,
yeah.
But then like, who's the closest East and travel wise, where it's not as bad. I'm looking at the standings now.
There you go. Honestly, I don't know.
I don't know who would you. St. Louis.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Just thinking St. Louis. Minnesota. I don't know. I'm just thinking stuff up right now.
You're thinking maybe it'd be a team in the Central, but who knows?
You really can't tell.
Or they might have to change it all over again.
Yeah.
Just to add another team.
That would be interesting. Or just say, screw it and throw Seattle in the East. Because to be fair, the Seattle Seahawks are in the NFC.
It's true, but the NFL is a lot different.
No, not at all.
Yeah. It's not the same when you're saying NFL or
no,
NFC, AFC from East and West.
Yeah, so we'll see how that happens. Because when is Seattle supposed to break ground in 2019?
2 years, maybe.
Okay. So yeah, I'm curious to see what even happens then with if they keep
already
the
got
same format.
Permission. They already have the same rules as Vegas for expansion, so they're obviously going to be here. It's just. And I think it's only so long until then. It's because they want to kind of figure out everything.
Right. It makes sense, yeah. But the craziest part about Seattle, they already sold 25,000 season tickets within an hour. It's pretty crazy.
But it doesn't really surprise me. You'd think there'd be more teams in Seattle just because you see everything with the Seahawks and everything with their fans.
And also the...
But it's amazing. I was talking about this with Mitch when I was watching the Stanley Cup the other game day. Vegas is so loud that every other stadium you watch after seeing a Vegas game, it's just quiet.
Do you know what I love most about Vegas? Their pre-game presentations.
Yeah.
That's honestly some of the greatest things I've ever seen. They crack me up.
It's Vegas, so obviously it's going to be that way. So then when it's in Vegas, like, oh, come on, it's not even game time yet. They're not doing anything. They just keep going back to Pierre.
Oh, my God. Here's because Cap Friendly actually tweeted this out 26 minutes ago. Here's some an overview of some of the upcoming important NHL offseason dates. So there's still the Cup Finals. The first important date after the Stanley Cup Finals, first player buyout period start later of June 15th or 48 hours after the Stanley Cup Final. First player buyout period deadline for the first club elected salary arbitration. So there's that. And then June 18th through the 29th, tentative upper and lower limit announcement date. In the past decade, the earliest day that the limits were announced was June 18th, and the latest was June 29th, so between those days. Of course, the draft, June 22nd and 23rd. June 24th, UFAs may speak to teams that do not hold their signing rights but may not sign a contract until July 1st. June 25th, deadline for clubs to tender qualifying offers to RFAs. So for the Flyers, if they want to re-sign Robert Haig or Taylor Lear by then, they would have to do so by them. June 26th, the next day, RFA contract period begins. Clubs can contact RFAs who have received a qualifying offer to discuss a possible offer sheet. And then the first buyout period ends on June 30th. And, of course, free agency begins July 1st. Deadline for player elected salary arbitration, July 5th. Later that day, second club elected salary arbitration window is from 5:01 p.m. July 5th to 5 p.m. the next day on July 6th. July 15th, qualifying offers to RFAs automatically expire unless extended by the club by 5 p.m. And August 15th, signing rights deadline for college drafted players. So that is all there is for the rest of the off season, and those are the important dates, courtesy of Cap Friendly.
All right. All the things to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be...
which then sucks because after July 1st and all the craziness
of free agency,
there's nothing.
Well, that's not entirely...
Because then there's
going to be some trades here and there, but...
Yeah, but it's not going to be the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Because once you get into the middle of the summer, like, damn it, there's no hockey.
Now what?
There's nothing going on. Rookie camp's over.
That's why you play NHL for hours.
Yeah.
I need my hockey.
Yeah.
I
need to pretend to be Hextall for a little bit.
Yeah, right. Some news for Vegas, actually. Thomas Tatar will play tonight, and it looks like David Perron is out. That is from TSN's Brent Wallace. So... I think that would be good to switch up. I like Perron.
What do you think of the hit Neil gave to?
To back
Orpik.
Brooks Orpik.
The back, yeah.
Actually, there's two hits I want to talk about. There's that one and then the Tom Wilson hit.
And game one.
Yes. So let's start. I'll start with your hit since you brought it up, and it's more recent. Well, James Neal.
Like concussion-wise, I feel like Orpik, because I don't think he came back.
No, he came back.
He came back later, but
no.
He said, I remember Doc saying specifically, like, this is his first shift since his injury. Or someone saying that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. But
even though he was just on that bench, so you'd think, why don't you just go to the quiet room?
They didn't.
It doesn't make sense. But it's something that happens in sports where the game's on the line, you're just going to be a little dinged up. So they're not going to take it that serious. So
I know it's Stanley Cup Finals and everything, but... Brooks Orpik clearly got concussed on that play.
You could tell when he tried getting up and then went back down. He was clearly concussed.
Oh, exactly. Here's the thing, though. Concussion spotters right in there should have taken him out of the game. This is why I absolutely despise the NHL Department of Player Safety right now and have for years. They need to change up their formats. I was talking to a friend of mine because we were talking about the Tom Wilson hit, and sure, it wasn't nearly as bad.
I saw your tweets about it, so I felt like I should bring it up.
Yes, thank you.
Because I felt like getting Jeff riled up for a little bit.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate that. So, but here's the thing. Neil left his feet. Sure, it was like a back check. Like, literally,
I still think it was a clean hit, but it was
a clean hit. But the only part that was, if it was not clean, was that he left his feet.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say because it was a backwards hit. You know. But for the NHL,
and also Orpik was going for the hit too, but
right?
Then he got the worst of it.
It was more incidental contact.
Yeah,
I guess.
But it was more of him because he got hurt, and the Capitals didn't really do anything about it.
But which is annoying because I think that the NHL they need to. And here's what I told my friend.
And that's why I brought up Orpik because they were talking about the injuries. I'm like, is Orpik playing?
Yeah, right.
Because like I'm pretty sure he has a concussion, but he's probably still gonna play today.
Yeah, because. I don't think the NHL really cares enough about their players' health or safety, and it's really sad because This is
and
how
the season maybe, but at that point, the team's not really going to care that much. They'll take the fine if there's a fine.
You see, and that's what I hate the most. The fines are a joke. Literally, a $10,000 fine for those guys is a nickel for us. It's like, here you go, need a nickel? There you go. I don't care. Because my friend asked me, what would you change? I said, a good amount. All checks to the head will be a large fine, not this couple $100,000, BS. If the player...
Would you start it off as the significant of the head injury or like the significant of the hit?
I would honestly both.
Like even if it was like obviously like accidental, you can't really do anything about that.
All right, that's
like the
fair.
Pronger thing, like he got his post concussion getting his stick up in the head.
Because that was a follow through shot by Mikhail Grabowski. Like sure, there's nothing you can do about that, but like that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up because if it's just like a little accidental bump, that's one thing. But like if it's a clear hit to the head.
Or clear hit into the boards where it's like head first or something.
Exactly. If it's something like that, that should be a large fine depending on the severity. I also said if the player is injured, then a fine of at least $1 million or more.
Yeah.
Regardless, it should. I think all fines should at least start at $1 million.
Or even if you do think that if you make the fine high enough, you would think people would then
tone it down
a little. But even though at that same time you can't really in the moment sort of thing either.
Right. Well, no, I know, but still, like, because look at players like Matt Cook. Like,
but players like that in the NHL are going down.
Exactly. Well, thankfully, because
I can't really name much outside of Ryan Reeves, and
Tom Wilson.
Yeah, I'm sure there's more out there. But
there's not as many. But thankfully, there's less and less players like that because
there's not as many goons.
NHL.
I mean, Ronaldo's still playing, but what's Ronaldo doing now?
Yeah. Nowadays, the NHL requires players, but in my opinion, they require players. You need to have skill and speed. You can't just rely on your fists, or your checking. Sure, it helps.
Like even Gudas toned it down.
He did. I gotta give him a lot of credit.
After season interview, he was saying he was trying to like tone it down because they were asking him about like all the hits he would give, and after suspension, he tried toning it down a little.
Which is good though. But you're not the same player. But I said second, if you're suspended once, make it between 1 to 5 games depending on the severity of the incident. Second offense, automatically increase the suspension to more games, include a fine. And again, I think the fine should start at $1 million to $2 million fines. If they want to make these fines hurt, make it hurt. Give them $5 million fines, $10 million fines. Like depending, like literally, if it's like the Matt Cook hit against Mark Savard, if things were like,
Eric Lindros,
Eric Lindros. Well, that's a little bit.
That's different, but still.
No, I know what you mean. But so that's
I
what
don't
I'm
like
saying.
John Stevens. Okay.
No, he does. So that's what I was saying with the Matt Cook hit on Mark Savard. That should.
But Matt Cook was a known asshole. He literally cut someone's Achilles heel.
Oh, no, I know.
He's an asshole. He's a known asshole.
He was. I think that's a $3 to $5 million hit.
Yeah.
Right there. Maybe more. Actually, more because he ended Mark Savard's career with that. So, but if it's like a regular,
and that's the thing. That's why you want to make more rules about this, more penalty or like
more suspensions, more fines. But here's the other thing: is the NHL is in complete denial about any connections between hockey and concussions, just like with the NFL was years ago. The only reason
This are a little, This are a little.
No, this are a little. They at least admitted there's some connection, but they're still not as bad.
But the NFL already has a bunch of other shit that they've got to go through.
Oh, I know. I also said increase the concussion protocol if they have a concussion, they are required to sit out for at least 1 to 2 weeks, no exception. Increase the protocol at the arena. Have 3 experts, maybe 3 to 5 experts, along with several EMTs and other medical workers. That way they know what to do when the time comes in case there's a hit like that. And it's embarrassing because the NHL, like literally, I see all the time, former NHL players, like Dan Carcillo, he tweets out a lot about the NHL not doing enough, and you see all sorts of cases about.
And you see stuff like even if it's accidental, Pronger never played again after that.
Exactly. Sure, he's had other concussions, but that was the final.
That was the final one.
Play,
because he still has problems with his eye because
He
it
still
literally
does,
went to his eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think just overall, the NHL Department of Player Safety, they need a considerable amount of changes. They named, I think it was George Pears.
Yeah.
I think his job was like the head of.
Didn't you start a thing about concussions too?
Yeah. I started a GoFundMe page about just for concussion research, just because I wanted do my fair share, because I've had a couple of concussions in the past, and sure they weren't from hockey, but I know the physical pain and hell you basically go through, and the fact that these guys they get a concussion and next thing you know they're already out skating, not even a week later, and not even just skating, but
or even a couple
playing.
Minutes later, like
exactly
Orpik
a couple
was.
minutes later, like Orpik. There's something seriously wrong with that, and I just want to do my fair share and do my part in helping out figure out what to do just to help out and help not even necessarily heal concussions, but just do more research on how it all triggers them and and everything like that. So, but no, it's just overall I think the NHL Department of Player Safety, they need to do make it a considerable amount of changes. People in the NHLPA need
in the
to
game
go.
either, because
Gary Bettman needs to go. A lot of people need to leave this league right now.
Like, I know the thing with the NFL, it's like, oh, you're getting rid of these hits that everyone liked so much, but in the NHL, they lost the hits, but it's still just as fun to watch.
It is.
It's like fast paced now. It's
like literally,
it's still fun.
Perfect
like,
example.
Look at the series. It's back and forth.
My dad was watching the 1980 All-Star game on NHL Network while in between watching that and Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and he's going back and forth, and he was telling me, he's like, it's crazy watching like how he used to think back in the day, how fast that was.
Yeah,
you go back to today's game and it's lightning quick. It is.
Like, wasn't it McDavid who won the fastest skater competition or whatever?
Here's some other. This is also what I was going to talk about, because we talking about the Tom Wilson hit, a little bit more about this, because Mike Rupp, he's an analyst on NHL Network. He really ticked me off with this comment, and unless I misheard him, but I don't think I did. Tom Wilson, they had they counted basically almost 7.8 seconds or so after Marshall Salt got rid of the puck. That's when Wilson hit him. And Rupp's like, oh, it's a fine hit. He's like, honestly, like, he's like right there for it being a bad hit. But I think once it gets to 8 seconds, then you're good. I'm like, 8 seconds? Literally, that's...
I think it was, hit-wise, I think it was clean. But for the timing, it definitely should have been a penalty.
Well, it was a penalty. But I think like it could have been more, because...
Yeah, it should have been, probably.
I mean, you can argue yes and no. But because hit-wise...
Would you... To go on this, would you do double minors like you do for high sticking, but with head injuries?
I actually like that idea. I never thought about
I know
that before.
They usually do like the game misconduct if it's bad enough.
Yeah.
But if it's something like that,
I think
would you think like a double minor sort of thing?
I think they should consider a double minor, yeah,
for concussion hits and
I like
big
that
hits
idea.
Like that.
But yeah, and the thing is that like any hit after the player gets rid of the puck, ain't like not even 4 seconds after he gets rid of the puck, that's a dirty hit. Like. Yeah. The
puck was already at the...
Exactly.
He was in the center.
By
the puck
the time
was in the...
it's 8 seconds, McDavid can skate around the entire rink almost twice.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that in 8 seconds after I get rid of the puck...
I get not even that time. In 2 seconds you could score in 8...
Exactly. And I could get hit 8 seconds after I get rid of the puck. That's clean. Okay, Rob. I see how it is.
In 8 seconds they can go down to the one side and then go back.
The only reason why I think Rob is so supportive of it is because he's like... Wilson, he's a former Goon.
Yeah, he's a new former Goon, so he's...
Exactly. Yeah. So, of course, he's going to be supportive of that. And it really irks me just because there's no need. It's completely an unnecessary hit. It's a stupid penalty to take. Like, luckily, it was a 4-on-4.
And I still find it surprising for the talent that Washington has. For some reason, they always put... Why is Wilson with Ovechkin?
Well, they have Ovechkin, and I think it's Kuznetsov and Wilson because I guess they just... I mean, Ovi can take care of himself.
I know he can, but it's like you would think if I guess.
So,
But
and
still,
somehow, I don't know how this works, but somehow Wilson has actual chemistry with Ovi and Kuznetsov.
he does, and he's
which I'm
produced
very
a little
surprised
in this.
by.
He's produced a little in the playoffs so
Yeah.
far. I don't really know stats off the top of my head, but
But no, I think overall though, somehow he's has some chemistry. Which the funny thing is about him is that people were saying the Flyers should have drafted him over Scott Lawton. It's cracking up about that.
good thing that didn't happen.
Nope. Good thing.
Because really, the goon level has really gone down. Even
It
like
has.
fighting majors, penalty minutes, they're down from
Yeah.
what they used to be. Because that's actually one I want to look up now.
Yeah. But overall, because like you mentioned Gudis, he definitely did tone down his.
That's why. That's also what
his
I
playing.
want to talk about. That's why I'm kind of nervous about Abe Kubel, because he's already in the
that's
AHL.
right.
He's already having. He already has a name in the AHL
Yeah.
for having suspension. So he got suspended in the playoffs.
I did see that. That's right. I forgot about that.
That's his only downfall. Because that could keep him from coming up to the Flyers if he can't tone it down a little.
Yeah, and I agree. I think, and he'll eventually learn his lesson, and
Let's
once,
hope.
yeah, right. Once, because the Flyers do. Excuse me. Once the Flyers do, like let's say if they do keep him down because of that, he'll eventually learn, and they'll probably tell him like, look, you have a chance to come up to NHL, but first you have to turn down the hits.
Hackstall's going to do that.
Oh yeah. So yeah, it's he's an interesting player, and also
even Haig,
Goldburn.
when he was playing, he led the league in hits, but none of his hits were huge, but they were good to get the person off him and disrupt them. I can't speak.
Yeah, good job.
We've been speaking for an hour and I can't speak. Yeah, that is something that should do something about.
Yeah. I don't think they ever will, though, but...
No. Not with Bettman leading.
Oh, exactly. Nothing's going to get done with
No.
Bettman here.
But you would think with maybe the players or someone would be a little more...
You would hope.
into that or more to want that to be changed.
You would hope.
Mm-hmm. What else? Yeah, I don't know. So I guess if there's nothing else, I guess we should just wrap it up then.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right.
That'll about do it.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. You can find me at on Twitter at Witmer96.
And Jeff_Quake.
Yeah. Not sure where I want to post this yet, but I'll probably post this under the Mike and Mitch podcast. So
There you
just
go.
look for us there.